and welcome to part 2 of our financial literacy workshop. We are discussing today bridging the financial divide, big banks versus local credit unions. My name is Dr. Pamela Ravar-Jones. I am going to serve today as the facilitator. I serve as the Assistant Chief Administrative Officer for the City of Baton Rouge, East Baton Rouge Parish, under the administration of Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome. Good morning once again to those who are watching via Facebook and to our registered viewers. So we are going to get started without any other delays. Let's go to our first slide. So welcome again, and I want to share with you the purpose of our workshop series. Today is part 2 of our June series that we started for financial literacy. Again, for those of you who participated in our May workshops, we actually had a series of 6 workshops that we put on. And today what we want to do is to provide an overview regarding the formation, the value, and the advantages for utilizing a credit union. We're joined with partners. We're going to share with you information regarding each of their different credit unions. But the goal that we seek to achieve today is to provide individuals, especially those within the Baton Rouge community, with options regarding alternatives for financial decision making. The goal and the focus of this workshop is to leverage the numerous resources provided by local credit unions and also to address the benefits of local credit unions by contrasting them to larger banking institutions. You know, it's so important that when we put on this financial literacy workshop series, our intent was truly to be able to provide individuals with the tools that are necessary or required in order to make better decision making or better decisions, whenever financial questions or challenges come to bear. And so really what we are wanting to do today is to showcase 3 of our partners. And I'd like to go to that next slide and show you who's going to be on the webinar with us today. So our presenting partners are Louisiana Jumpstart. We have Ms. Jessica Sharon, who's been a partner with us throughout our workshop series. She is the Director of Financial Outreach and for Pelican State Credit Union. We also have Mr. James Hunter. Mr. Hunter is the Executive Director of Faith Fund and also works with New Orleans Firemen's Federal Credit Union. Our third partner on the call today is Baton Rouge City Parish Employees Federal Credit Union. Ms. Christy Datz is serving as our presenter, and she is the Marketing MasterCard Collection Officer. And then finally myself, Dr. Pamela Ravar-Jones. As I mentioned, I serve as one of the ACAOs for the City of Baton Rouge under Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome. So without further delay, I'd like for us to kick off our webinar today by going into our first slide with our presenters. At this time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Jessica Sharon. Again, as I mentioned, Jessica leads Pelican's financial education and outreach efforts, and she's done that for the past 12 years. In her role as Director of Financial Outreach, she orchestrates the implementation of Pelican's financial literacy workshops, their credit management program, in addition to other financial outreach efforts. I've had the pleasure of working with Jessica. She's been a delight to work with for all of our various webinars that we've done. And something in common that we have, she did her MBA at LSU also. And Jessica has really been a champion for the work that we do. I love seeing her passion for the work that's being done, especially in this space of financial literacy. And so, Jessica, we'll talk a little bit more about your specialty areas within the presentation, but I'd like to turn it over to you now. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks so much, Dr. Jones, and I really appreciate that. I'm really excited today to talk to you guys about credit unions. It is truly my passion to help others, and knowing what credit unions represent and how we function and what we do to help our members is so exciting. I always joke that I am a super credit union nerd, and it's really true. But I think that it really speaks to what we've been able to do across our industry to help regular families every day meet their financial obligations and improve their lives. I mean, that's what it's really all about, is helping individuals improve their lives. So today I'm representing Pelican, and I'm talking to you guys about credit unions. So what is a credit union? We are a member-owned financial cooperative. So that means that every single member that has an account at a credit union is an owner. That's very different from other financial institutions like banks, because banks have shareholders where people buy, shares of the bank. But at every credit union, you actually own part of it. So you can actually vote for different things like the board of directors and things like that at their annual meeting. We're democratically controlled by our members, right? So every single member has the same voice. It doesn't matter if you have $5 in the credit union or 500,000, every single member's voice matters. And again, like I said, you can actually vote for your board of directors and various different things at the annual meeting. If your credit union were to merge with another credit union, you would actually vote on that as well, because you're an owner. So it really helps, I think, our members invest in what we're doing as a credit union and what other credit unions are doing, because they feel like they have the ability to influence that. And it's really true. We're operated for the purpose of maximizing the economic benefit of our members by providing financial services at competitive and fair rates. So that's a lot of words to say that our goal is to offer our members safe, sound products and financial education services at a really fair price, right? We don't charge a lot of extra fees. We really focus on things that benefit our members. And because we are a not-for-profit, which we'll talk about in just a second, our goal is not just to amass the highest amount of profit available. Our goal is to do the best that we can for our members and offer as much as we can to them. So next slide, please. So all credit unions are founded on the 7 cooperative principles. These principles are the basis for how credit unions operate throughout the world. And recently, our credit union, our National Credit Union Foundation, did kind of a re-explanation, if you will, of how our credit union principles work. And I think it's really timely in understanding what's going on in the world, not just with the pandemic, but with helping equalized rights and opportunity for individuals in our communities and throughout the world, that we as credit unions have a huge role in that. Most people don't know, but in some countries where even women are not allowed to vote at all, they're allowed to vote in their credit union. And that's huge. They actually have a say in what happens in their credit union, even if they're not allowed to have a say what happens in their immediate world around them. So all credit unions are founded on these principles. Voluntary and open membership. So that means that we stand for the financial well-being of all people. We don't discriminate against who can join and who cannot. We look at the members' excitement and want to join, and of course their eligibility, depending on how your credit union's set up, and we'll talk about that later. But we want everyone to know that our goal is to find individuals in our communities that need our help. And they may not look like us, or they may not be the same as us, but our goal is to serve those communities, and many of them are underserved. And one of our speakers is actually going to talk more about how our credit unions do that shortly. We have democratic member control. Like I stated before, you actually are a voice of your credit union when you're a member. That's huge. To know that you have the ability to make a difference in the way things happen, who is your board, and things like that, I think gives a sense of pride for people to know that your money is in a place that's safe and that you have a little bit of say over. Member economic participation. So what that really stands for is that we're going to reciprocate trust. We will be a strong and stable credit union for you to put your money into, and you will be a good, strong member who makes deposits, uses checking services, uses mobile services, pays your loans on time. It's kind of a partnership to say, we're going to be good to you and you be good to us. And if we can do that together, then we're really going to help the community as a whole. Next is autonomy and independence. We stand for transparency. We remain, no matter what, beholden to our members to make the right financial decisions. And that's why we have annual meetings every year where you can learn more about financial credit union and how things are being run, because we know that we need to be transparent so that you can understand how we're spending your money and how we're investing it. Number 5 is my personal favorite, education, training, and information. In credit unions, we stand for developing educated and well-informed citizens. We want people to learn the proper techniques to manage their money, especially in times of crisis, so that they can make the best decisions for their family, the best decisions to manage their credit and their income. All of those things are so important to us, and we are built to go and do that into our communities. That is our mission, is to educate and help individuals build assets and create ways for communities and individuals to escape those cycles of generational poverty. That's what credit unions are formed on, helping people. Next is cooperation among cooperatives. So that's a really cool thing where we all work together. So our credit unions know that we are dependent on each other for lots of different things. It's not necessarily a competition. Instead, we work together with other credit unions to help improve our communities, to help our members, and things like that. If I don't have an opportunity to help someone at my credit union, I'm going to say, hey, did you know that City Parish has a loan that actually might work for you? It's a very special program. So we really focus on what we can do to help our members, because that's the ultimate goal. And we can do that by cooperating with each other. And finally, concern for community. We stand for unity. Credit unions were built on bringing people together to lend to each other, to save money together, to borrow from each other. Our whole purpose is to bring our community together and to improve it. So it's really exciting to see what credit unions are doing now in this crisis and helping individuals improve their situation, helping communities stay stable and to grow. So next slide. All right, so why were credit unions formed? So credit unions, according to the U.S. Federal Credit Union Act of 1937, were formed for the purpose of promoting thrift among their members and serving Americans of modest means. And as you can see, what we call our credit union little guy was revamped to truly express the reach and the unity that credit unions have in their communities. And you can see in that depiction that our goal is to take our credit union and shelter our communities and our members from financial distress and sickness and hard times, and we can help bring together some opportunities for them. Many credit unions were started in a shoebox, in the basement of a plant or a church or a school system, whatever it may be, where individuals got together because they couldn't have access to financial services elsewhere. They had gone to large banks, and back in the early 30s, you had to have a lot of money on deposit to borrow, and a lot of just regular people didn't have that. So individuals started forming their own credit unions to save and to lend money to each other. Literally, many credit unions have in their kind of archives a shoebox or a briefcase where they actually kept all of the credit union money and ledgers when they first began. Because it was truly a coming together of individuals who wanted to help each other. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about credit unions is, again, we're all focused on the community and how we can help each other reach our goals. So next. Right. So credit unions and banks, we're definitely we get compared to banks a lot of the time, and I think for good reason. We do offer the same amount of products and services, sometimes even more, obviously, because we have this community and educational focus. But I think it's really good for people to understand what the difference is, especially if you've never heard of a credit union. I'm going to be honest, before I came to Pelican 13 years ago, I didn't even know what a credit union was. But I was like, oh, wow, this sounds pretty cool. So credit unions are not for profit. That means that we take the profit that we earn after operating expenses and money for loan loss reserves, cover any losses that happen. And we put it back into the credit union in the form of lower rates for loans and higher rates on savings, and of course, educational opportunities for our members. Banks, on the other hand, are made to make a profit. They're a for-profit business, and the money goes to their shareholders, which we talked about before, because we have member owners, they have shareholders, and their shareholders make money off the bank. And that's just the difference. That's how they're structured. We have a volunteer board of directors. Our board of directors are made of individuals from our membership. They're, they're sought out to be diverse and highly trained in the areas that they need to run the credit union based on jobs that they've had in the community. But they come from our communities and they care about how our credit union is run and what we do to help our members. So it's really exciting because they're so invested. They're invested because they're not getting paid to do this. This is not a job for them. This is something they're doing because they want to. And I think that when you have volunteers, there's such a higher stakes, and they're so much more involved in the success of the credit union and what we do to help our members, because this is a volunteer opportunity for them. And it's a lot of work, but they all do an amazing job. Credit unions have a business function and a social mission, as opposed to banks who just have a business function and mission. Their job as a business that's for profit is to make money. Their product is checking and savings and loans, just like other for-profit businesses like grocery stores. Products are, cereal and cookies. So what's different about credit unions are all the things that we talked about. We have a business function and we have to run a responsible business, but we have a social mission. Our mission to bring our communities together, our mission to work together and help our members improve their quality of life, to improve their finances. All of these things are part of our social mission. And then, of course, we're both insured up to $250,000 by each respecting bodies. The credit unions are insured by NCUA, the National Credit Union Association, and then, of course, banks are insured by the FDIC. So just different governing bodies for insurance, but the same exact process. So overall, credit unions' big difference is our purpose. Our purpose is to help. Our purpose is to improve. Our purpose is to help individuals grow and to help communities grow. And that's what makes it different. It's not just like any other business, like a grocery store or a restaurant. We have that social mission, and that's our big difference. Next slide. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to James, who's going to talk more about our social mission.
Thank you, Jessica. Actually, before James, you start, I will do just a brief introduction of you. I want to be able to share with our viewers a little bit about your background. James Hunter is the Executive Director of Faith Fund. It is a nonprofit aimed at helping individuals and families better manage their money, escape predatory lending, and achieve financial stability. Mr. Hunter is also a certified financial counselor. He understands the road to financial independence is different for each individual. And I loved reading that part of your bio, Mr. Hunter, because it really is individualistic. Each person comes with a unique set of needs, the need for information, and also the need to be sometimes handheld a little bit more. And so reading further into your bio, you have a strong belief about building a bridge for financial wealth and kind of closing that gap, that divide that exists there. In your bio, you mentioned that you meet people where they are on their financial journey. James also has a firm belief that pairing the right coach with the right assortment of financial products actually helps these individuals and helps them to intelligently be able to plan for their financial future. Mr. James also, Mr. Hunter also was with us on our earlier webinar this month, and I'm delighted to have you back again, Mr. Hunter. Thank you so much for joining with us, and thank you for representing the New Orleans Firemen's Federal Credit Union. I turn it over to you now.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Dr. Jones. And thank you, Jessica, for a wonderful presentation. Before I begin, I want to take a moment to piggyback on what Jessica mentioned about credit unions and the cooperative principles. You know, in the times that we're living in, we've come across the need and want to be more of an inclusive society. And in September of last year, we founded our 8th principle, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it just is another testament that credit unions are so open and willing to evolve where others sometimes are stuck. It just gives you that big of a difference of what the credit union difference is all about. So going into my part, my objective today is to introduce you to a very important acronym, and it's called CDFI. Also, I want to help you understand why CDFIs are important and what are the benefits of a CDFI. CDFI stands for Community Development Financial Institution. It's like an adjective that describes the type of credit union that you're dealing with. By definition, CDFIs are mission-driven. They provide fair, transparent financing and financial education that mainstream institutions consider too risky or not profitable enough. I like to say, where banks run from, CDFIs run to. CDFIs invest in potential and promise and support financial success. For nearly 50 years, CDFIs have been identifying needs and lending where it counts. They truly believe in serving the underserved. If you move to the next slide, I'm going to introduce you to a map that gives you a breakdown of the CDFIs across the United States. I'd like to draw your attention particularly to Louisiana. If you notice, there's 20 CDFIs currently as we speak, and that number grows every quarter. But more importantly, I want to explain why CDFIs are important. Huge opportunity to serve in Louisiana. According to the U.S. News and World Report list of best states, Louisiana ranked the near bottom of all states when it comes to education, healthcare, crime, and opportunity for its citizens. 52 out of 64 parishes are classified as persistent poverty counties. By definition, persistent poverty counties are defined as any county or parish that has 20% or more of its population living in poverty over the past 30 years. That's impactful. In order to break the financial wealth divide that we are seeing, we need to introduce innovative products and services that are designed to help people take control of their financial future and bridge the wealth divide. And I believe that CDFIs do just that. Next slide. Of the CDFI break down to they have a primary mission of promoting development, in particular community development. They maintain an accountability that is defined in their target market, and they truly serve the underserved. They have a unique ability to meet people where they are on their journey towards financial independence and help them with the products and services that they need to be successful. They educate and build awareness and relationships. And again, I like to say this again, the umbrella picture just resonates in my brain. To have someone shelter you and give you what you need to be the best person you can be to live your best financial life is primarily what a CDFI does. CDFIs are deeply rooted in the philosophy of people helping. Nothing more, nothing less. One of the best terms that CDFI credit unions talk about is that we're not for profit, but for service. I'm moving to the last slide, which is a quote that I love using. It's a homage to James Baldwin. He's an American novelist, playwright, poet, activist. And I think he best summarizes this presentation through his quote. He states that anyone who has ever struggled with poverty knows how extremely expensive it is to be poor. Those words right there resonate deeply, not only in my mind, but in the homes of many Louisiana residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter, for that information and for the quote that we all love and resonates with so many of us. We'll talk more about that quote in a moment. But if we go to our next slide, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce our partner specialty services area, in particular, our final partner, which is Baton Rouge City Parish Employees Federal Credit Union. Today, we're joined by Ms. Christy Dance. Christy is the marketing officer. She is a MasterCard and collections officer for the Baton Rouge City Parish Employees Federal Credit Union. In particular, Christy has actually been in the credit union business for over 22 years there and has 27 years of experience working for credit unions. So she's our senior person on the call today. And brings a wealth of information through the work that she does in the marketing department. But she also works with loans at the credit union and, as I mentioned, the MasterCard departments. She enjoys working closely with the members that are at the credit union and helping them with their financial needs. Today on the call, on our webinar, Christy is also going to share an illustration of some of the type of clients that she's worked with. But I'd like to turn it over to Christy now and ask her to begin this part of explaining specifically the benefits that come from being a member, I should say, of the Baton Rouge City Parish Employees Federal Credit Union, which is so important for those on the call today who actually work within City Parish. Christy, thank you so much for joining us. You'll have to unmute first, Christy. I think you're still on.
Sorry about that. Good morning. I would also like to thank Mayor President Sharon Westenbroom and Dr. Jones for doing this valuable workshop for our community and inviting us to participate. As she said, I'm here this morning to tell you a little bit about the credit union and some of the benefits that we have. Can you go to my first slide, please, ma'am? Okay, our membership eligibility, there are many ways that you can join the credit union. If you're an employee of the City of Baton Rouge, City of Baker, City of Zachary, and employed with Breck, employed with Capital Transit, otherwise known as CATS, with the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office, East Baton Rouge District Court, Family Court, District Attorney's Office, Clerk of Court's Office, Council on Aging, employee of the Capital Area Family Violence Intervention Center, a retired person from any of those entities. If you live, work, or worship in the 70801 or 70802 zip code, and you can also join through immediate family member who is already a member here. Once joined, then you're eligible for all our other services. We offer a wide variety of savings accounts, checking accounts, and individual accounts. I'm sorry, yeah, thank you. Individual retirement accounts. Our checking accounts have no monthly service charge, unlimited check writing, Star telephone auto response, and Star Online. With Star Online, you can transfer money between your accounts. You can see what checks have cleared your accounts. You can view account history and much more. We also have bill pay and e-statements. Members with Star Online can also use our mobile banking app with Apple or Android phones. We have overdraft protection in our courtesy pay. We also have a network of surcharge-free ATMs. We are also a partner of Bank on Baton Rouge. If you are having a hard time getting a checking account, we offer a second chance checking account with no monthly service charges, no monthly minimum balance, and access to a debit card. This is a temporary solution until you are able to get a regular checking account, and we can actually work with you and help you to do that. We have the Christmas Club account, and for your financial convenience, we have joined with credit unions nationwide to be part of the Co-op Share Branching Network. With Co-op, you can access your account across Louisiana at thousands of locations and across the country. No matter where you are, your credit union is always near. We also offer all types of loans, auto loans, four-wheelers, boats, motorcycles, travel trailers, new and used. We do personal loans such as bill consolidation, tuition, school, if you need money for vacation or Christmas. We have great prices on extended warranty and gap insurance. We always say check with us first before you finance your new or used auto at a dealership. We could possibly save you thousands. We had an actual member who financed with the dealership, and we refinanced that vehicle. We lowered her rate by 4%, saved her over $1,400 on the life insurance, saved her $500 on her gap insurance, and saved her over $600 on extended warranty. Her total savings came out to be over $7,000. So come see us before you go to the dealership, because we can give you the tools to negotiate a better price. We can also compare rates on credit, life, and disability insurance, gap, extended warranties. And then for our members with less than perfect credit, twice a year we offer a special loan. We usually do it a few months before summer and vacation. It's a $1,000 loan. We have our MasterCard credit card. We have Platinum, Gold, and Classic. They're low interest rates. There's no annual fees. There's no cash advance fees, no balance transfer fees. And then there's also accidental insurance. We also, on the Platinum card, they have the scorecard bonus points, which I know a lot of people like to do the bonus point thing. And also, if you have unfavorable credit or no credit, our loan officers are trained and available for guidance on how to repair your credit or establish credit. We have done that for many members. I had one incident with a member of mine that had not so favorable credit. I worked with him for a few years, just getting his credit back straight again. And then he was able to go out and actually purchase a home. So we can work with you to help you on that. We also offer the convenience of payroll deduction or direct deposit. With payroll, you can deposit as little as $5 every payday into your account. With direct deposit, you can send your whole check to the credit union. With payroll deduction, you can eliminate the hassle of writing checks to pay your loan. We can have the payroll deduction go straight to your loan payment every payday. Remember that this is your credit union and we are here to serve you. Whenever you're ready to start taking advantage of it, you can come in and see one of our member service representatives. They also have a small gift for you when you open your account. We are here to service you and to help you with all your financial needs. Thank you.
Jesse, thank you for that information. We are going to go to the previous slide, which is talking about the mission of the social mission and the business purpose. This is something that Jessica was talking about in her previous section, and I think it's important that we cover this also. So I'm going to ask Jessica to share this, and then we'll go into Mr. Hunter's section on the specialty areas. So Jessica?
Thank you. So I think it's a really good thing, and I think that Christy brought up so many of these points. You know, we offer as credit unions, again, this is how we live our social mission and our business purpose. We offer specialized products and services to the constituents that we serve, to the members that we serve, and to meet their needs where they are, just like James mentioned. Education, counseling, assistance in money management. We have a commitment to help our members increase their assets for long-term financial stability. Our goal is to help end those cycles of generational poverty. And as we each talk about what our different credit unions offer that are unique to help our membership, I just encourage you that are listening in to remember that there is a credit union fit for you. You know, depending on the different things that are going on in your life and what assistance you need or how you qualify, all of us have this mission, all of us have this purpose. So you can reach out to any of us, or at the end, we'll talk about how to reach out to other credit unions and find that information. But as you'll hear, what you've already heard from Christy about how we are here to serve, that is truly what each one of our credit unions are here to do. And James will be talking about some of the great things that they have at Fireman's. Just remember that as credit unions, our goal is to build stronger communities, because we know that stronger communities build stronger members who build a stronger credit union. So it's just this cycle of helping each other out. Just like James mentioned, people helping people. That's our purpose. So it's really exciting to know that there's so many alternative options out there for you. So yeah, just want to make sure that everyone realizes that, like I said, there's always a credit union fit for you for whatever things that you're facing in life and whatever things that you may need. We've got someone that can help you. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to James if you guys would like to advance the slides to his. And he's going to talk more about the special products and services that New Orleans Fireman has.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that, Jessica. I think that as you realize, there's a common theme here, and it's about commitment to helping individuals, regardless of their walk of life, advance from one stage to another. I simply call that planting the seeds. And in order to plant the seeds, you have to be willing to make a commitment to watch something flourish. Now, at New Orleans Firemen's Federal Credit Union, we have an array of products, but I'm going to focus on a few that I think are very important. Also, one of the services that we offer. First, 50% of our staff are trained certified financial counselors, which means they go through a rigorous process of testing to make sure that they are qualified to help any and everyone achieve their financial goal. And that is very important. When I talk about meeting people where they are, that's one of the most important things where it starts, to identify where they are on their journey and where they want to go. Next is free checking accounts. The term sounds so simple, yet we have many of Americans, in particular people in Louisiana, who go cash their checks and pay. The amount of money spent over that throughout the course of a year adds up to significant income that can be used for other things. And I just realized that the more we educate people, the better we can help them understand that there's options. Bad things happen to good people, but we have to understand when things happen, where do you go? And I hope this webinar helps people understand this is where you go. Find yourself a credit union. Tell them what's going on, be open about your situation, and I guarantee that we can find someone that can help. We have a unique program called the Ride Smart Loan. It's a program that allows people who don't have favorable credit or challenge credit get into a car that's reliable, that's affordable, and that's going to give them value. We partner with Enterprise Car Rental, and we give people a chance to get into a car that's newer, and we also loan them 100% of the loan to achieve. More importantly, throughout their payments that they make, a part of that money goes into a fund that's set aside in case of emergency. So for example, if your car battery goes dead, every month you've been contributing to this program, you can use that money that's set aside to help you get your car battery replaced. Those things right there are ideas that credit unions come up with that help people get out of this financial debt, because otherwise trying to get from A to B, going to work and be trying to make ends meet, you may find yourself without a vehicle because you can't afford to get it fixed. One that's dear to my heart, well, the last two are dear to my heart, honestly, but the home affordable product, I think, is an important step towards breaking the financial wealth divide. The best thing you can have that brings wealth to you is ownership. And home shun away from in today's society because they don't realize how easy or how the process is to become a homeowner. People think it's a very hard process, but if you understand the steps involved with it to move from challenge credit to favorable credit and get the home loan you want, it makes a difference. So we have a loan product that gives you 100% of your loan and doesn't have mortgage insurance. And we concede up to 6% of the closing costs. This is designed to help people who are paying rent to the tune of a mortgage bridge that gap and step into a home without having to come out of all the out-of-pocket costs associated with it. This product has become a very popular product, and it allows people a chance to experience homeownership at its finest, to actually say to themselves, I have something that I can call my own, something that I can give them my anything. Last on the list, I have alternative payday loans. As we get caught in the financial debt traps, one of the biggest things people do is they don't know where to turn to. So one of the first things they do is turn to an alternative payday loan because it's easier, it's more convenient. One of the things I shared in my last webinar with the audience was that Baton Rouge supports one of the top 3 payday loan markets in the United States. Literally, there are more payday loan alternatives in Baton Rouge than there are McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King combined. So when people come across needs, they run to these payday loans and pay upwards of 400% in interest when they could have a credit union offer them a loan as low as 5.99% that allows them to cease the bleeding and Band-Aid is going on, but actually pull that Band-Aid off and look at the sore and say, what's making this system prolong? What's the root cause of it? Once we find that out, we can see people migrate, because I think the old adage is true, is to do better.
Mr. Hunter, thank you for presenting that information, especially in regards to your particular credit union. I'd like to go to our next slide. And Jessica will cover the specialty areas for Pelican State Credit Union. And afterwards, we're going to have a special guest who's with us. And we'll talk more about that in a real life illustration in regards to the benefits of partnering with a credit union. So Jessica, I turn it over to you, and then the introduction of Mr. Frank Kinner.
Thank you so much. So as we've all talked about, you know, all credit unions offer the same great products and services as other financial institutions, as each other. We all have amazing checking and savings products and loans and things like that. And my goal in this was to talk more about some of the specialty things that Pelican does. We also have a bridge loan product, which is an alternative to payday loan. James is so right in stating that there are more payday lenders than fast food chains in Baton Rouge, and that is so true. Our credit union actually serves the entire state of Louisiana. And I'd say that in addition to Baton Rouge, Central Louisiana and the Acadiana area also has a very high number of payday lenders. And the problem with that is that they prey on individuals who need help, right? So if you need help and this is the place that you can get it the fastest, and that you won't feel like someone judged you, and that you won't feel like anyone will talk about it or feel a certain way, if you feel welcome when you go in there, people tend to gravitate to that. And it's a lot of times they just don't know that their credit union can actually offer a very similar thing to them at a much better price, and not put them in that cycle of one payday loan after another. And so it's really important, I think, no matter where you're at in the state of Louisiana, or even in the Baton Rouge area, to make sure that you're looking at what's out there when you think about needing a loan really quickly. And realize that some credit unions here locally can help you with a small loan to get you through. At Pelican, we also offer credit rebuilder loans. Those are set for individuals who are working on rebuilding their credit. So if you've had some issues in the past, if you're serious about working on improving your credit and improving your financial situation, then you can actually take part in that loan through our financial wellness program. So we have 7 nationally certified credit counselors on staff throughout the state of Louisiana, and their sole job is to focus on educating our members and helping them improve their financial lives. They offer one-on-one credit counseling sessions. They offer monthly support to the members of checking in with them and following up to make sure that they're working on their plans to improve their credit or their finances. It's a really robust program, and we're very proud of it. We know that our members have benefited so much from having access to our credit counselors. We run about an average of 2,000 member sessions a year, meeting with different members and helping them improve their financial lives. And it's really exciting to see them reach their goals. And many of them, it's to purchase a home. And so we've been able to help members go from a 450 credit score to a 700 and be able to purchase their home. And our credit union, much like James mentioned, is a CDFI. We focus on individuals that are in the underserved area, so lower income, lower access to finances and different type of things like that. So we're helping individuals that wouldn't have access to these type of products and programs if they just went to a traditional bank to ask for help. We also offer financial wellness workshops, and these are being done virtually right now because that's how we're doing everything these days. And so we were really excited to participate with the mayor's office and to be able to share this information with your audience. We also share a lot of information with ours via YouTube and our blog, pelicanstateofmind.com. We have a video series there called Ask Pelican, where we talk about all different type of financial topics that can help our members. So I really encourage you, if you're seeking some easily accessible financial education information that you just want to read in small bites, or you want to watch a fun video about how to manage your money in a crisis and things like that, we've got some great information out there for you. And we also have a focus on youth education. We currently have 1 student-run branch in Central Louisiana, and we'll be opening our 2nd this school year, if that's an option. If not, that's okay. But we do focus on educating youth because we know that if we can help them learn these good habits young, they can take that into their adulthood. Many of us, myself included, did not have very good financial habits at the beginning of my credit life, and I've had to fix that over the years. I didn't understand a lot of things, how credit works or why it was important. It's not something that they taught in school. So as a credit union, we have a focus on educating the youth in our communities to help them make those decisions, valuable, good decisions at the beginning. And then maybe they don't get into those having to make more difficult decisions and repair credit or things like that when they are much older and are trying to buy a home and things like that. So our focus at Pelican is definitely on creating products and services that give opportunities to our members, those who are underserved and need access to safe and fairly priced financial services, and education. I think that's one of the most exciting things about what we do is our commitment to education for our members, for our communities, and for everyone that we serve. So thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. We now will have our special guest that's joining us to talk a little bit about his experience with the use of credit unions. Frank Kerner is a marketing supervisor with Pelican State Credit Union. In particular, I loved reading Frank's bio, and he talked about his background in marketing, but he also shared something very interesting about his love of investing in people and seeing people live and have a better work environment. Frank, we're delighted to have you as part of our webinar today. Please share a little bit more about your background, the work that you do at Pelican State Credit Union, and in addition, share a little bit about your experience that you've had with the credit union. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jones. So I have been working, I'm the marketing supervisor over at Pelican State Credit Union. I used to be the content marketing representative. And what my role there was to build out with the team and our financial outreach team, our blog, Pelican State of Mind. While we do offer all the wonderful products and services that we've listed, we also have a huge portion of our marketing is not about just advertising products and services. It's about taking content and budget related information and talking about local communities and local businesses and local members and uplifting their stories and teaching others around us how to live a better life. So ultimately, we're living our principles by uplifting our community and those around us to have a better life overall. And on a personal note, when I started almost 5 years ago now over at Pelican, I didn't know what a credit union was. I came from a software company and I had gotten laid off actually. So I was without a job for a couple of months. That was not the first time my wife and I lived, as we called it, in the negative. You know, our checking account balance was always low. We lived through college thinking we were doing the smart thing, quote unquote, of staying away from as much student debt and putting on credit card debt. Horrible mindset for us to have, but we worked through it. And then after getting laid off, my wife and I, at the same time of getting laid off, had to find a new place to live. So we were really maxing out all credit options for us at the time. I'd say about 6 months into working at Pelican, we hosted a financial wellness workshop for the community of Baton Rouge over on the Goodwood Library. And I attended that one. I was fascinated by listening to our credit counselors, Lynn Gobert and Kimberly Gaines. They both gave phenomenal information about what to look for in your budget, you know, how to sit down and take the time, and how important it was to look at your finances from a higher level and starting spreadsheets and documenting information. I immediately went home and I told my wife, I was like, we got to do this. You know, they're talking about how they help people get into homes. Like we have, you know, we're paying a lot of money to rent over here at this condo, and we need a place to call our own to start a family. And so my wife and I sat down and looked at everything, and there were still so many things that seemed out of reach after looking through our budget and realizing that we only had maybe, you know, $100 to $115 extra a month. And that's not even to save. That was for food and gas and things like that. Driving about an hour and a half each way to and from work was really a toll on us, sharing one vehicle as well. So I actually reached out to Jessica, and I said, Jessica, my wife and I need some help. Do y'all offer this for the employees as well? And she said, yes, definitely. The employees are able to access the same tools that the members have. And so my wife and I met separately with Jessica. She sat down, looked at how much we were spending on things, pointed out different ways that we could end up saving money by switching over to other products at the credit union. My wife and I both ended up consolidating some of our debt, which was very helpful for us. And then after that, she got us on by looking at our budget and saying, oh, you can save this much money per month. And then, you know, over a couple of months, we would have had enough to put a smaller payment onto a house, which wasn't an overall down payment, but we were able to pay the cost to get into a house so that we would pay less per month. And I'll never forget at the end, it took us till the end of 2017, December 2017, my wife and I moved into our house. It was a great moment. We actually have the framed picture of us holding up the key in the house. I'm actually getting worked up over here because my wife and I still look at each other in our house and we say, I can't believe that this happened. And it's actually such a great week to talk about this because for years of my wife and I living in a negative balance and having credit, like insurmountable debt on credit cards and then looming student loans and things like that, we hit a milestone of being able to save $10,000 this week. And I get very emotional. I'm a very, I am an advocate for people to use the products and services that credit unions offer, not just because I market them, but I use them actively, and it truly saved my wife and I's financial life. We are living so much better, and we don't stress about how are we going to pay for food? How are we going to pay to put gas in the car to get to work? What happens if something breaks down? We're able to live life a little more freely, thanks to utilizing Jessica's the resources and Jessica's expertise.
Frank, what an incredible and powerful testimony. I can't thank you enough for being a part of this. And thank you for the level of candor and transparency you've shared today. There's something that you said that will always resonate with me. You said living in the negative. A lot of people today, Frank, find it hard to admit that they are either one, living from paycheck to paycheck, or they're just getting by. We had United Way on, our CEO, or the CEO, I should say, of United Way, and he began to talk about the Alice composition and people who truly are they're working individuals, but they're just getting by. And so I love the candor that you shared, but I have a question in regards to that, because there's a moment that you had to step out of, one, maybe the embarrassment or the shame of saying we're not doing enough, or we need to, or we can do better. What was it for you that really was like, quote unquote, your tipping point to say, we need to get help? We need to sit down and talk to someone.
I honestly, my tipping point was not having, the stress of that caused a lot of health issues. I do, I'm very open now more than ever. I think the thing was the stress and having the health issues and being like, I can't keep this inside anymore, and trying to combat that, the stigma of, talking about your financial situation, being open about finances. It's very taboo in American culture for sure to talk about finance openly. And I think the more, we kind of break that barrier and break down that wall and tell people it's okay to think about your finances and talk about them, that doesn't show weakness, that shows a strength in you as a person wanting to make your life better. I think that's where everything's, going to get better, because that's what helped me, was having that open conversation with my wife and then admitting it to myself and being like, you know what, I'm just going to go all out and just tell people what's going on, because, it's helpful. It's helpful to say, I went and met with a credit counselor. I needed that. There's no shame in bettering your life and yourself.
Totally agree. And I think the one-on-one counseling actually helps individuals to do that, because you're able to go and sit with an individual and really begin to process through each of the different components that are perhaps stopping you from being in that level of financial freedom. So I applaud you 100%. I cannot thank you enough for what you've shared. I'd like to ask one other question, and then we'll have the rest of our presenters to come on. But when you began to talk about the workshop that you went to, what at that workshop really resonated with you that was sort of the impetus also for you to be able to say, some of these tools or tips that they're teaching me, I can actually use in my own life?
Sure. Especially down here in Louisiana, especially, family is so largely important. I mean, beyond just hanging around family, it becomes intertwined in our finances, whether we, think about it or not. And one of the things was Kimberly Gaines got up there and started talking about being on a phone plan with your family. And she's like, don't add people to your phone plan. And she got extremely passionate about it. Actually, it was so good that I actually asked her to come back and record another statement so we could put it on YouTube and social media to share out to our members. But she got up there, she's like, if you have someone on your phone plan, chances are you are still paying that money, but you are now like waiting for them to pay you back. And my wife and I mean, that's what happened to us. Our family came in tough times. We thought we were going to be helpful and help them, but at the end of the day, we didn't have the $140 extra a month that we were having to pay to help them. And so that kept up. And if we would have defaulted on that, it's not going to affect the family. It affects us and our credit. So that was just as much as now it seems like a very simple thing, like, oh yeah, don't add people to your phone plan. It's a very difficult thing to say no to somebody else who's struggling, even if you're already struggling. So that was an important step for us to say, okay, we need to get them on their own phone plans away from ours, save the extra money, and help ourselves.
Excellent. Sometimes it's just one piece of information that can be given to you, and then you become empowered to be able to make those next steps. Please stay on. I'd like to invite the rest of our speakers to come back on audio and video capability so we can talk a little bit more about some of the questions that are posed here. We have a lot to cover. I have some additional questions, but I'd like to start off with Jessica in particular. We talked about credit unions, and my first question is can anyone join a credit union, or is it only for certain businesses, certain industries? Individuals can only join a credit union if they're a part of a company that's connected to that credit union. Can you kind of break that down a little bit so individuals will understand how to become a member?
Yeah, absolutely. Traditionally, when credit unions were formed, they were started, like we had mentioned, with businesses or churches, and one single select employer group is like it's called in the industry. And over the years, we've actually changed the way individuals can join the credit union. So as Christy had explained, a lot of individuals for the city parish can join because they work for different parts of the city parish. At Pelican, we have a similar situation where all of the individuals who work for the Louisiana Department of Health and Hospitals can join, plus a lot of other businesses that we have pursued relationships with. And so I think James has, the firemen, and they have some other ways to join. So there's many different ways that you can join a credit union, whether it be through your employer, partnering with them, or many credit unions have what's called open membership. So credit unions, much like neighbors, you can actually go and join because they have anyone who lives in a parish can join. And so things like that. We have some parishes up north where you could join. So there's lots of different ways that you can join a credit union. And in our last slide, I think we've got some information linked to where you can actually find out how you personally are eligible to join a credit union by going to CULOOKUP.com. And that will allow you to put in either your business or your address, and it'll tell you which credit unions you're eligible to join in your area. So lots of different ways you can be part of a credit union.
Thank you. Christy, would you like to share a little bit about how individuals can become a member of your credit union?
Well, like I shared in my slides, we have a lot of different entities, like if you're an employee of the city of Baton Rouge, city of Baker, city of Zachary, you work for BREC or Capital Transit. We also did many years ago where if you live, work, or worship in the 70801 or 70802 zip code, you are eligible to join. And then also, like most credit unions, if you have someone who's already a member here, a family member that's already a member here, you can join through that immediate family member.
Excellent. Mr. Hunter, would you like to add anything in regards to who can join your particular credit union?
Well, one of the biggest misconceptions about joining the federal credit union is you have to be a fireman. And that is not true. As Jessica mentioned, we have different segment groups that you can come in and be affiliated with. A great example would be part of the Faith Fund. If you're part of the Faith Fund, which is sponsored through a partnership between Catholic Charities, Metamorphosis, and Idaho Lake University, you can actually become part of our credit unions. If you are part of the Cancer Society and make a one-time donation, you can then become part of the Fireman's Federal Credit Union. There's many opportunities that are out there. It's just our objective to make it that more aware to people. And again, like Frank mentioned, sharing the narrative is important. So people just need. And I think that the end, Jessica's slide that gives the call to action will be very, very informative.
Excellent. So in the presentation, I heard a lot about fees, whether an individual, when they join the credit union, if they have to pay fees or not, are these fees lesser compared to other financial institutions? Counseling, financial counseling free. So I'm going to pose that question to you, Mr. Hunter. In terms of fees, are these fees lower? And will an individual be able to do financial counseling without having to pay for it?
I think I picked up on the first part, the latter part you broke up, but as it is opposed to fees, I would say without a doubt or reservation that credit unions are driven to be for service and not for profit. So in terms of doing what we have to do to make ends meet, and if there's a little margin there, it's very, very, very small. But when it comes down to what we're trying to do is we're trying to make impact. In order to make impact, you have to let people understand that our job is not to get over on you, but our job is to help you by handing you a hand up. So the basic premise that all of our credit unions are founded on yields to the example of we're here to help you. Now, last part, please, could you repeat that?
Yes, so I was asking if a person comes in and says, I'd like to join, I'd like to become a member, do they have to pay for any financial counseling services that are available to them?
Now, that's a very good question. Our financial services are totally free. All you have to do is be wanting to enjoy the benefits and have the want to ask for it. Once we do that, we'll pick up the ball, we'll walk with you through the process of understanding your financial outputs, to looking at your credit report, finding ways to make a budget, creating what I call smart moves, to give you specific time frames to make actual things happen, to watching yourself celebrate through the migration of your savings, credit score, and your financial position.
Excellent. I saw both Jessica and Chrissy shaking their heads. Yeah, it's free. There are no charges. And so even listening to Frank's illustration of his own personal experience, why would a person not want to take advantage of this, especially if they fall into the bracket of the underserved, as you all said? I think it was mentioned earlier about, and Mr. Hunter said this, that there's this common theme amongst the credit unions, and it's all about helping individuals and empowering individuals. And so being able to take that first step to reach out and say, maybe I have some areas where I need just more information, or I need greater education in this area. I've not looked at my credit score perhaps for a couple of years, and I need to learn how to begin to build my credit score up. I want to touch on that as a question because many people don't understand how to get their credit score from one point to another. I think it was Jessica who mentioned helping someone, and correct me if I'm mistaken, from 450 to a 700. Jessica, can you talk about that? Because that's a big gap to work to get to that point. So kind of help our audience understand the process that it takes to go from that lower number to the higher number.
Absolutely. So we really like to say, one of our credit counselors, Ms. Lynn, says that it takes focus and discipline, and you have to actually start. So you have to actually do it. So where we help you is the focus. You know, at the credit union, we help put together a plan for you to increase your credit score to meet whatever goal it is that you're looking for. So let's say, for instance, that, and every case is different because everyone's credit is different. But let's say, for instance, if you're someone who doesn't have any credit, they're very new, young person, they want to buy their first car. So that's a great example because we're starting from zero. So what we would encourage that person to do is, in a lot of cases, say, okay, let's open a secured loan. Let's start building your credit by paying your payments on time for a certain amount of time. And then we encourage them to save up this money first and use that as collateral for their loan. And once they do that, then we move into, okay, let's open you a small credit card so that you can learn how to properly use revolving credit, because that's a huge piece of your credit report is revolving credit, mortgages, and then term loans. So next we look at, okay, let's get you into that. So usually after 6 months to a year, we're able to create a good solid credit score for an individual so that they can start moving on to larger purchases like a vehicle and eventually a home. But I think the most important thing that we do along the way is that we teach our members to both use credit wisely, use it to their advantage, and to save along the way. You know, we want members to understand that just as important as having and using credit is having and using savings properly. So we really focus on both pieces of that as we move through. And sometimes that's a little more difficult when you're talking to an individual, like in Frank's situation, where they've already established a lot of things. And so we're trying to figure out how to organize those and move in the right direction. But I think the great thing about individual counseling is you get that individualized plan to help improve your finances. It's at no cost, and it really is all just about how much commitment the member wants to make. If they are ready and committed, we are ready and willing to make it happen for them, and to use the products and services that we have to help them meet those goals, to help them build that payment history. I love many of the kind of financial gurus that are out there that talk about paying cash for things and not having to pay interest. I think that's great. But realistically, we as individuals who are not millionaires, right, who have to purchase a home or have to purchase a car or have to get car insurance or, you know, a job, we need a credit score, and we need a good one so that we can do those type of things. Insurance, job applications, all those things are affected by your credit score because credit is used to measure your character. So we really help members understand how to use and manage credit in this world and how important it is to guard that and keep it safe and make sure that they're setting themselves up for success. So like I said, every case is different, but the best thing is that it's possible. It's always possible. Will it take a long time? Maybe. It just kind of depends on the situation that you're in. It might take a year. It might take 2 years. We've had individuals that have been in the program for 5 years or more because of the flood and, you know, life events that happen. I think James mentioned that bad things happen to good people, and that's so true. You know, any of us are just a few bad things away from having a really tough situation in life. So I think that the best thing that our credit counselors can do is just help people put that plan into place, figure out where to start, and then all they have to do is commit to it and they can make it happen.
That's excellent information. Thank you so much. You even touched a bit on some of what I would consider good debt versus bad debt, and times when you're having to use a credit card or not in order to navigate through just the challenges that life presents in terms of things that you have to purchase. There's another question that came in, and this has to do with, and Christy, if you wouldn't mind answering this one, if an individual moves away or they change their jobs, are they still allowed to be a part of the credit union there with you all and to stay a member?
Yes, ma'am. We say once a member, always a member. The only thing we ask is they keep their address up to date with us. And then that's pretty much it. They stay a member forever.
Excellent. And just to stick with you on that, if you had some problems with your credit, what could you do to help a person? Or let me rephrase the question. If someone is saying, I've had some problems with my credit, and they're asking, what can you do to help me? But they're really not being totally transparent. You may not know all of the things. What's the first step that they do when they come to the credit?
The first step is we need to actually sit down and look at their credit. We need to see what's in there, and then we can work from there. But that's the main thing. I would tell them we need to actually look at it. And then we can go step by step of what they need help with, or, where we can go from there, basically.
And is that first process pulling up their credit score to see what that score is?
Yes, ma'am. And it doesn't always, it's not always around the score. It is what is actually in your credit. I've actually seen scores be a little off from the credit that I've seen, because I've seen people with very good credit have a lower score than someone with not so good credit. So you have to actually look in the credit itself and find out why that score is so low. I mean, it's like Jessica said, there's different circumstances for everybody. Everybody's is different. Every situation is different. So we'd actually have to sit down and look at it and see, is there a charge off in there somewhere? How old it is? Is it a collection? How old it is? If there's some past due history. It's different things that we have to look at. How much revolving credit they have and how much of it are they using?
No, that's excellent. It reminds me of something, Mr. Hunter, we were on the previous webinar, and we were talking about the payday loans and young people especially being connected to that. I know we touched on it briefly here, but Mr. Hunter, what advice would you give to some of our younger individuals that are coming into credit? Because many people will say, how do I get a credit score if I don't get a credit card? And I have to go out and buy things in order to build a credit. What advice do you give to younger individuals who really don't have the teaching or the education that's necessary? How do you advise them on good credit, bad credit options that they're pursuing to build up their credit?
My first advice would be to understand credit. Because if you understand the power of credit, whether it be good or bad, you understand how it can enhance you or it can hurt you. After we understand that, I would then say we have to understand what behaviors are involved with that make you do things, which goes into our previous webinar that talks about the psychology of spending. You have to understand what is a need versus a want, and how are you paying for those things? What's your monthly budget? Do you have a rainy day fund? Do you have at least 6 months of your bills saved up to where you can afford this item that you say you need, whether it's really something that you want? But more importantly, when it comes down to it, the end all be all is to understand that you're not by yourself. Understanding that someone and doing and help go through something that's free, that's out there for you. It's almost to your detriment not to do it. I think Jessica mentioned earlier that is no cost to get. It actually is a cost. It's a cost to the person who's not doing it, because they're waiting that much longer to take advantage of something that can help transform their lives forever. So whether you are the young person that's going to college, the person out of college, the person who is in the workplace, or the person that's trying to retire, being involved with the credit union and understanding the tools that are out there to help you, especially when it comes to financial counseling, it's invaluable.
And you just said something that's so powerful. I really hope our audience is listening. There is a cost to bad credit. There's a cost, and even your quote reflected on this. by asking the question, how expensive is it to be poor? And so many people, I think, don't recognize the cost savings that they could have if they understand where their money's going and where it can actually be shaved down or changed in some way. And I see Jessica shaking her head too in that, because I know you do a lot of work, and I love the program that you mentioned that's working with youth now, and even having students to run one of your banking, your credit union, pardon me, locations is fantastic. Jessica, how do we change this narrative of people thinking that they're okay staying in a bad situation and not recognizing that they could be actually saving money? Frank gave a great illustration of just looking at a cell phone bill and who he was covering. Do you want to touch on that just a little bit for the audience?
Sure. I think the best way that we have been able to help people realize that their situation needs change is sitting down and going through it piece by piece. You know, our credit counselors have a very strong position that we don't tell people how to spend their money. It's not my job to tell you how to spend your money. It's my job to teach you how to prioritize what's important to you. And through that process, show you where you can be saving money, how you can be improving the situation. Many people just don't realize. Like we touched on before, a lot of individuals do not get this information in school. They do not know how to manage their finances, me included. I am not taking myself out of this. I pay all my student loans every month, and I put all the, whole semester worth of books on my first credit card ever. So all of us make these mistakes, and until we know better, I think like James said, until we know better, we can't do better. So what's really important that credit unions do is that we reach individuals where they are. We go to them and with a humble spirit and says, look, we know that you're struggling because maybe you were turned down for a loan, or maybe you came to us and needed something and we couldn't help you. So we know that you need some help. So here's how we can help you. We want to work with you. We want to talk with you about what you've got. We want to go through, what do you owe? What do you have coming in? What resources are available to you that you're not taking advantage of? Because that's really important too. There are communities, especially right now, that are offering resources, and if individuals can take advantage of that, they can use the funds that they have to then pay things that aren't covered, like your mortgage or your rent or whatever it may be. So I think the biggest thing that we've been able to do is make that personal connection with our members to say, we're here for you. We've been through this. We understand, and we want to help. And coming into it in a humble way of saying, it's not that we know the best way, it's that we know a way. And we can help you fine tune that and make sure that it works for you and your family. So I think it's just like anything else in life. When you're trying to get someone to come around to your idea or to work on something with you, it's just going to people with a humble heart and with a idea of service and say, this is how we can be of service to you. And people are willing to open up at that point because they realize that you do have their best interest at heart and you're trying to just help.
Excellent. I want to ask Christy, we have time for just a few more questions for each of you. Christy, we may have a number of city parish employees that are watching the webinar today as part of our audience. And maybe they just didn't know to come in and be a part of the federal credit union that you have there for employees. What would you say to those individuals that, especially about the new resources you have and new rates that you have? How would you market to them right now if you had to give them a marketing pitch?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, pretty much everything I've said from the beginning. You know, we are here for them. We are a member, like Jessica said, we are a member-owned credit union. We are here to help them. I would just tell them they need to come in, they need to open an account, tell us what their goals are, and we can help them meet those goals.
And what if an individual only has a small amount that they can actually take out of their current check to put in? How much is required to start an account?
Oh, okay. Well, the initial deposit to a savings account is $5. That's all you have to put in to join the credit union and be a member. That's it. It's simple. And in the payroll deduction that I talked about, they can deposit as little $5 every payday. It's not a lot, but $5 can add up over, a length of time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. $5, an investment of freedom.
Right.
You can go to McDonald's or to some fast food place and you're spending $5. So this is a powerful opportunity to be able to do something for yourself. And so I encourage all of our city parish employees to take advantage of what's available, since it is a service here as being an employee. I want to touch on a couple of things now. There are some individuals who will say, but why should I join a credit union? They're smaller and perhaps they have less ATMs or they don't have as many locations where I can go. What would you say as a counter to some of those comments? And that can be any of you. Yes.
Okay, I'll talk a little bit about that. I know our credit union is part of a network of ATMs where you can go to ATMs and there's no service charge to use them. And I believe that their credit unions are also part of the co-op shared branching. James, am I correct? Y'all are part of it too?
Absolutely.
I talked about that in my presentation a little while ago. Co-ops are everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. I've had so many members call me out of town, in another state. I need to get money out of my credit union account. I have keyed it in for them where they're at, and there was locations within miles of where they were. So there is access to your money all over the United States.
And so if a person wants to do a transfer of funds from one credit union to another, if they're in that network, can they also do that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Excellent.
ma'am.
If we could, let's touch on another quick question. And on one of the slides, Jessica, that you shared, it was the one on cooperative principles, the 7 principles. There was a piece that was listed at the top that said autonomy and independence at the very top of that. Do you want to explain how that actually works with these 7 principles that the credit union is operating under?
Yeah, absolutely. So autonomy and independence is all about transparency. And so that is our way of saying that we as a credit union are beholden above and beyond anything to our members. We are required to be transparent about how our business is operated. We are required to be transparent about how their money is spent. I always say that at Pelican and every credit union, our goal is to be good stewards of our members' money. So you don't see a lot of frivolous spending on maybe more elaborate, fancy displays or things like that. We really focus on how we spend and when we spend. Does it benefit our members? Is it something that's giving back to our membership? And I think that's even more important right now, because as a financial institution, we have a responsibility, as a credit union, we have a responsibility to help our members. And, that is the most important thing that we can do when we see that they are suffering with loss of income and financial stability issues. So I think the best thing about what we do is that we share information. We don't keep it to ourselves. We share information with our member owners on how the credit union is run and what we do with their money. And I think that's just another way that being part of a credit union is different than a bank. It's not just like a grocery store or a restaurant or any other type of business. It's actually something where you can invest in and feel like you are part of it.
Excellent. Kind of piggybacking off of your words where you say sharing information. Let's do that now. Let's share some final information with our audience as we draw to a close. There's a final slides that I'd like for you, Jessica, to go ahead and take the lead on. and that is, how do individuals make that connection? And so we'll put that up on the screen now, in terms of the co-op and the shared branch that Christy was alluding to earlier.
Yes, Christy put this slide together and did an awesome job. The Co-op Share Branch Network is a way for credit unions to allow you to have access to your account anywhere in the country. The cool thing is that if I'm a customer of a bank, if I have Bank X, if that Bank X is only in Louisiana, then I can't access my account when I go on vacation to Florida. But because I'm a member of a credit union, and because we are cooperative with each other, which remember was one of our principles, we have a network where when I go to Florida, I can just go to the credit union there and access my Pelican account or my finance account or City Parish. So it's a really exciting thing to know that no matter where I go in the United States, I can access my credit union by going to any credit union in the network. And it's free. So that's really great too. As if I go inside the building, it's free. So that's really exciting.
Great. And the next slide, actually, where do they go? How do they connect with you all?
Yes. So, and finally, one of the ways that you can find information on where the credit unions are that you can access is you can go to the website listed here, coopcreditunions.org/locator, and you'll be able to find where a credit union is located near you. So, like I said, if you're on vacation, you can put in the address of your hotel, and you'll be able to find a credit union, like Christy said, within miles of where you are. You can also call your credit union. They'll be happy to look it up for you and let you know where that is, just like Christy was.
And then we have one final slide, which is just information. And this is, again, how you can actually look up the credit union, which is listed. And let's go to the final slide. So I want to say a special thank you to each of our partners, James, Christy, Jessica. I can't express enough how grateful I am to have you, especially on this last webinar for the month of June. We have done 8 webinars in total. That's a lot over this time of COVID. And for those who think that this is not relevant, that this topic, I pulled up an article this morning, and this actually was printed right before we started, and it said that Netflix is shifting $100 million into Black-run banks and credit unions. And in particular, there's one credit union, which is the Hope Credit Union, where they're shifting $10 million in Jackson, Mississippi. Hope Credit Union actually has locations not only in Mississippi, but Alabama and Louisiana. I share that with you all just to show that due to a lot of what's going on in our nation, in our state, there's so much that's happening, and the realization amongst major companies who are willing to deposit, especially because they recognize that there are underserved communities who need support and help, especially in the credit union areas. So I wanted to close with that, but I also wanted to put a thought of action to all those who are listening to our webinar today. I think Frank gave such an incredible testimony to the realization that he needed to do something. So if anyone who's watching today in our Facebook audience is saying to themselves, you know, I feel like I'm drowning in debt, or I have a credit score that I'm not happy with, or I'm thinking of buying a new home or my first home, or I need to think about how I can refinance my car. I'm giving multiple scenarios. I challenge you today to reach out to one of the credit unions that are a part of this particular webinar, or to others that are the right fit for you. And we talked about credit union fit, but make that phone call, that initial call, and just go sit down and consider doing that one-on-one counseling so that you can then begin to empower yourself and have that same sense of freedom that Frank did with him and his wife when I saw his face to talk about the $10,000 that he proudly said that they have now saved and being able to put aside. There is power in being able to see yourself out of debt and into a better situation. So again, to our presenters, I can't thank you enough. And to those who are watching, the call of action is on you to now use this information that's been shared and begin to see yourself in a better light. So thank you again. Thank you to Mayor President Sharon Weston Brew for her endorsement and her leadership of these particular webinars. For those of you who would like to go back and watch any of our previous webinars, they are on the City Parish website. You can see all 8 of them that will be there, and additional forms and documents, videos that we've shared throughout the series. And I want to end with a special thank you to Ms. Simone Paulette, who has graciously worked with me in putting all of this together and working with our partners to get our slides and our contents cohesively put together. So thank you, Simone. And again, you all have a wonderful holiday for the 4th of July. Be safe, and we'll see you on our next webinar. Thank you.